first votes cast in the election today at the College of the Bahamas and at the Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium. Also ahead, a decision today in the case of a police officer convicted of killing a suspect. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, nearly 8,000 people cast ballots in historic early voting and absentee voting polls taken across the Bahamas and in 6 countries around the world today. 6 days ahead of the general election poll, uniformed branches voted alongside voters who won't be available come May 7th to cast their ballots, and students and government workers stationed abroad. As Shanique Miller reports, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram was among early voters today, casting ballots at the Kendall Isaacs Gym, one of 2 New Providence polling places.
Even though they weren't voting in today's early poll, party supporters were out in full force, dressed in party colors, cheering as their counterparts filed into the Kendall Isaacs Gym. Now, while it's customary for members of the armed forces and poll workers to participate in this early vote, for the first time, it included civilians.
I feel good because, sometimes the baby comes early and I could be in hospital. I just want to say thank you to Papa.
9 months pregnant and due any day now, Latoya Sturp is among that new category of voters eligible to cast her ballot early. She's grateful that in the event she gives birth on or before Monday, she will not have to watch from the sidelines.
With Hubert Alexander Ingram, he's the delivery man. His work speaks for him. It's all about the work.
Voters began lining up here at Kendall Isaacs Gym at exactly 5:30 this morning. At 9:18, Prime Minister Ingram cast his ballot in the Fort Charlotte constituency. Accompanied by his wife, they put their support behind the party's candidate, Shivargo Lang.
It is very pleasing to have 4,000 plus people who were going to travel or would have been ill, who could now vote. And all the Bahamians who work in the overseas missions together with students. We've got more than 400 people voting overseas.
Wearing a pair of red suede shoes, a gift from his friend Pat Paul, Mr. Ingram appeared in high spirits, greeting supporters and the PLP's candidate for Baines and Grants Town, Dr. Bernard Nottage. With 6 days until the wider population goes to the polls, Mr. Ingram encouraged them to vote for the leader and party able to lead in time of crisis, as well as a leader with character, courage, and conviction.
Vote for the party that delivers. Vote for the party with a leader with a proven track record. Vote for a leader who you can trust, who says what he means and who means what he says.
Recent published polls indicate that the F&M is ahead with the best plans to fight crime, grow the economy, and lead. Ingram says those polls only mirror what the party knows already. Mr. Ingram says he's driven by the desire to make life better for the people of the Bahamas.
There's no poll as extensive as the F&M poll. Not 500 people, not 700 people, 3,000 voters throughout the country. We are very confident, God willing, that we'll be the government next week. I love to provide service to the community and to people. Every day of my life I do something that benefits somebody in this country, every day of my life.
Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
Well, if it was Election Day excitement you were looking for, there was a full dose of it at the College of the Bahamas' Tourism Training Center. That was the other location for advanced polling and early voting. It was also where Progressive Liberal Party leader, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, and DNA leader Branville McCartney voted today. Clint Watson was there.
Make no mistake about it, general elections are here. The overwhelming support that the 3 major parties had at the polls from workers, agents, or supporters kept the excitement high as voters from the armed forces or for the first time regular civilians unable to vote on election day queued up to cast their ballots. Among them, Leader of the Opposition, Right Honorable Perry Christie, and his wife Bernadette, who arrived amid fanfare. The process, Mr. Christie agreed, was relatively quick as he cast his ballot in Killarney.
I think it represents progress. Obviously, we have to look and monitor and learn from this experience. The numbers of students voting abroad are important, but not all that significant in the sense that there are large numbers of them. We have our representatives around the United States and the Caribbean and the United Kingdom. And, you know, as I indicated before, we have to learn from this because small parties and independent candidates would find it next to impossible to be able to conform with the requirements of the law.
Mr. Christie says he is encouraged by the intelligence he received from Grand Bahama and the other polls. He is convinced that voters are speaking loud and clear.
There is a gold rush. It is evident wherever you go, and that is encouraging to us. It is not a definitive or conclusive position, but most certainly it is encouraging to us given where we are today.
Democratic National Alliance leader Bramble McCartney also casting his ballot in the advance polls. A confident McCartney says he expects to form the next government of the Bahamas. For the most part, he was satisfied with the process except for one concern his party encountered.
It's a bit unfortunate that the family islands we were not told about it until a few days ago. I find that to be a bit unfortunate because we were not able to submit the necessary names to participate in this process. But the fact that this process is here, I think it's a step in the right direction. Of course, we need a bit more of campaign reform from the financial point of view, as well as the voting point of view.
For the first time, along with the uniformed forces and poll workers, those who will be out of the country on election day were able to vote. That meant a lot for Raymond Winder, who was required to travel on business next Monday.
It's a good thing, you know. One of the things that our countries continue to do is to move forward in terms of allowing more and more persons to participate in the process. You know, this year it's approximately 7,000. I'm sure next time around it's going to be at least 2 to 3 times that amount.
How was the process for you?
Very quick, very efficient, very organized, and as you can see out here, Bahamians are very passionate about their politics, and it's so exciting to see.
Right. Throughout the morning, there were constant exchanges between police and party supporters as officers tried to keep those supporters on the outside of the COB complex. However, the war of words erupted from time to time over which side had more supporters inside the complex. For the most part, though, the day went without incident. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
Well, police second that. They say overall today's advanced poll went smoothly and without incident. Officers were out in full force ensuring that supporters didn't get out of hand. At one point, in a proactive step, Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade instructed officers to separate PLP and FNM supporters who were both lined against a barricade. Now, even after separating the two groups, police still had to step in when PLP supporters crowded around and even banged on the Prime Minister's vehicle as he pulled away from the gym. After the crowd was calmed, Commissioner Greenslade summed it up to the usual political jostling.
I'm very satisfied that things have gone well this morning. It's a bit inclement, streets are wet, and traffic's a bit testy this morning, but beyond that, we think things have gone extremely well, and we anticipate it will remain that way.
Well, hundreds of Bahamians outside of the country also took to the polls, as we've told you. Among them, a number of students. We talked to presiding officer in Canada, Kelsey Dorset, who says 15 voters were expected there.
The ones that we have had, like I said, were mostly students, and they are so excited and so happy because for them this is their first opportunity to vote. They're young people, and they are so happy and they're so grateful that provisions were made for them to vote here, because for some of them their school term is not finished or their exams are not finished, and they would not have been able to get home for next week.
Well, over in Atlanta, Georgia, there were about 60 persons on the advanced poll register. Returning officer Elizabeth Keju says a number of first-time voters were among the group.
We've had about 3 persons every hour or so. We have 62 persons on our advanced register. For the most part, in fact, in all cases, the students themselves have given very positive comments. They're very happy and pleased that they are given this opportunity.
Absentee voting also took place in Florida, New York, Washington, London, Barbados, Trinidad, and Jamaica. Progressive Liberal Party leader Perry Christie focused on what he perceives as law enforcement deficiencies as he addressed party supporters last night. Mr. Christie vowed that his administration would undertake regular merit-based promotional exercises and increase state-subsidized education and training opportunities. Speaking directly to prison officers, Mr. Christie said he will also address overcrowding at Her Majesty's prisons and ensure prison guards are equipped to safeguard themselves.
In the last few years in particular, we have seen a serious escalation of multiple threats with drugs and guns flooding our communities. And yet, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force has not been given the tools it needs to succeed. We have a difficult border to enforce. Difficult but not impossible. I am determined to give the Royal Bahamas Defense Force the tools, the personnel, the training, and the technology they need to succeed.
Mr. Christie also spoke to the long-standing struggle to keep maritime threats at bay. Meantime, the Free National Movement's candidate for North Andros and the Berry Islands, Desmond Bannister, and MyCal candidate Sidney Colley voiced their concerns on the 2012 election campaign on the ZNS national radio show Immediate Response yesterday, dispelling claims that he ran from the Carmichael constituency to North Andros and the Berry Islands. The education minister maintained that he is a product of Andros and wants to serve the people there. He's also disappointed about the alleged negativity generated since the election campaign began.
Coming here this morning and looking at those despicable billboards, I think we all as Bahamians should be disappointed to see the lengths to which some people will go to win an election. And when you go and you publish billboards which demean your country, demean the people of the Bahamas, and put it out there for the world to see, and we are a country that hosts so many millions of tourists each year, we are showing that we will do absolutely anything to win an election, and that ought not to be.
The Free National Movement's candidate for MyCal, Sidney Colley, explained that his Southern Islands heritage qualifies him to become the representative for MyCal.
Maguana, Auckland's Crooked Island, Inagua, and Long Key are my roots, and the greatest service that a public servant can do is to go back to the island of his birth and provide service. And that's precisely what I'm doing, and I rebuff the charge because I am proud of the opportunity to serve in the MyCal constituency.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, a decision in the case of a police officer convicted of killing a suspect. That story is still ahead.